Most people think being prepared means buying a $500 bug-out bag packed with tactical gear, survival tools, and things that look impressive on camera. But when a real emergency happens, most of that stuff is not what gets you through the first 72 hours. What really matters is water, basic food, light, warmth, first aid, and a few cheap items that can do more than one job. In this video, we're building a $50 Walmart survival kit that covers the essentials, cuts out the gimmicks, and shows why a simple budget setup can actually work better than a bag that costs 10 times more. Number 1. Real priorities. A serious beginner prepper kit is not supposed to look tactical. It is supposed to carry one person through the first 72 hours of the kind of emergency that actually happens. A blackout, a water outage, a storm evacuation, blocked roads, or one rough night away from home. That is the part a lot of expensive bug-out bags get wrong. They spend money on steel, pouches, and gear that looks impressive in a thumbnail, but official emergency kit guidance keeps circling back to the same boring basics: water, food, light, first aid, hygiene, important documents, rain protection, an emergency blanket, and a way to keep a phone alive. That is why a $50 Walmart build can beat a $500 bag. It is not trying to win a gear contest. It is trying to solve the first problems that show up in real life. For beginners, that mindset shift is everything. Prepping is not about collecting cool equipment. It is about buying time, reducing friction, and making sure the next decision is not harder than it has to be. In other words, this is urban prepping in the real world, not fantasy survival. Number 2. Water first. Once you strip away the fantasy version of preparedness, the order becomes obvious. Water comes before almost everything else. Ready.gov and the Red Cross both use the same basic rule: around 1 gallon per person per day, with a 3-day supply for evacuation. Walmart's Great Value 24-pack of 16.9-ounce bottles is listed at $3.68, and that case contains 405.6 fluid ounces in total, which works out to a little over 3.16 gallons. That means one cheap case basically lands right on the minimum 3-day target for one person. That is a huge deal, because it shows how much survival marketing distorts the conversation. You do not need exotic survival water pouches to build a real starter kit. You need water that is easy to grab, easy to count, easy to ration, and easy to hand to somebody else without explanation. It also tells you how to scale the bag. If you were thinking about family preparedness, water is the first category that multiplies. 2 people means you double water before you start adding more gadgets. A lot of people do the opposite. They buy accessories first and treat water like an afterthought, even though water is the one category that becomes a problem fast. Number 3. Cheap calories. After water, food needs to be simple enough that you never have to argue with it. Red Cross guidance says non-perishable, easy-to-prepare food, and that points you toward regular grocery items, not dramatic survival branding. Walmart has Great Value chewy granola bars, 24 count, at $4.42. A 16-ounce jar of Great Value peanut butter is around $1.98. A 12.5-ounce can of Great Value chunk chicken is $2.62. That combination is not fancy, but it does exactly what a budget emergency kit needs it to do. It gives you quick carbs, fat, protein, and shelf-stable food you can eat cold with almost no cleanup. It also gives you food you can actually rotate instead of food you buy once and forget for years. That matters more than people think. A lot of beginners spend too much on packaged survival meals, then never touch them, never rotate them, and never build the habit of checking the bag.
A smarter prepper stockpile uses everyday food that you already know, already tolerate, and can replace without feeling like you are wasting money. This is emergency preparedness for beginners at its best. Normal products, clear purpose, low cost, and no guesswork when you are tired, stressed, or in a hurry. Number 4. Light fast. The next thing people underestimate is light. In a power outage, light stops being a comfort item and becomes a speed item. You need it to move safely, check a room, find medicine, sort supplies, and avoid turning a simple problem into a cut, bruise, or fall. CDC storm preparedness guidance specifically points to emergency power sources like flashlights, and Walmart lists an Ozark Trail single mini LED flashlight at $1.97 with AAA batteries included. That is exactly the kind of purchase a beginner should love. It is cheap, obvious, already powered, and small enough that it can stay in the bag full time instead of getting borrowed for random household use. Expensive bags often go in the opposite direction. They pour money into oversized tactical flashlights, higher lumen numbers, and aggressive-looking gear, then run out of budget for food, water, and charging. That is backwards. In a real emergency, the best flashlight is not the most impressive one on paper. It is the one already in the bag, ready right now, easy to use in the dark, and cheap enough that you do not mind dedicating it to emergency use only. That is the kind of practical choice that quietly beats premium gear. Number 5. Keep the phone working. Once you have light, the next layer is communication. And this is where a lot of old-school survival thinking needs an update. Red Cross includes a cell phone with chargers on its emergency list, and CDC guidance also emphasizes emergency power sources because outages take down more than your lights. Your phone is usually your weather alert, contact list, map, flashlight backup, and way to confirm whether the problem is local, regional, or already clearing up. Walmart currently lists an ON 10,000 mAh dual-port portable battery at $9.98. And that one item can be more valuable than half the gear in a flashy bag because it protects information. Information is what tells you whether to stay put, move, conserve battery, call family, or stop driving and wait. That is why a simple backup battery belongs in a beginner bug-out build. It is not dramatic, but it is useful in almost every modern emergency. Add a charging cable from home, and the value jumps again without changing the budget much at all. When people talk about preparedness, they often talk like communication is optional. In real life, communication is one of the first tools that starts paying for itself. Number 6. Dry and warm. After that, the focus shifts to weather protection, and this is where cheap gear can be surprisingly strong. In most real emergencies, the first battle is not making fire. It is staying dry, keeping wind off your body, and making sure your clothing and paperwork do not get soaked. Red Cross specifically lists rain gear and emergency blankets as useful add-ons. Walmart's Ozark Trail Clear emergency poncho is $1.98, and the reusable Ozark Trail emergency blanket is about $2.77. Then add great value 13-gallon Strong Flex trash bags at $3.98, and the kit suddenly becomes much more flexible. Those bags can separate wet clothes from dry ones, protect documents, line a dirty container, cover gear, or give you a quick barrier between yourself and a wet surface. That is the kind of ordinary item that expensive survival bags often overlook because it does not look impressive. But in real life, gear that controls moisture and mess solves problems fast. It keeps you cleaner, drier, and more organized, and that directly affects comfort, mobility, and decision-making. An emergency blanket is not a winter sleeping system, and a poncho is not a full shelter. But as low-cost stopgaps, they do exactly what a smart budget kit needs them to do.
Number 7. Fix problems. The same logic applies to repairs. A bag starts failing the moment a strap tears, loose gear spills everywhere, or one broken closure turns the inside into a mess. That is why budget repair items matter more than novelty tools. Walmart shows hyper-tough 11-inch zip ties at about $1.97 and 50 feet of Ozark Trail paracord at $3.18. Neither one looks exciting, but both are real problem solvers. Zip ties lock things together quickly with almost no effort. Paracord gives you a basic utility line for bundling, hanging, tying down, or replacing a missing cord. The point is not pretending either item can do every job. The point is that both protect the rest of your kit by helping it stay organized and functional. Repair is part of survival. Organization is part of survival. Keeping your bag from falling apart in the middle of stress is part of survival. That is the quiet advantage of a practical build. It spends a few dollars on items that keep the whole system working, instead of blowing the budget on one big tool that looks good but solves only one problem. And just to keep it grounded, paracord is utility gear, not something to trust with body weight. Number 8. First aid that fits. Now add the category people usually remember only after somebody is already bleeding, blistered, or dealing with a pounding headache in the dark. Official emergency kit lists include a first aid kit and medications, and Walmart's Equate on-the-go first aid kit is $8.88 for 85 pieces. That is not a trauma bag, and it does not need to be. A beginner emergency kit should be built around the most likely problems in the first 72 hours. Small cuts, rubbing, basic wound coverage, minor burns, headaches, and all the little issues that become more annoying when stores are closed and normal routines are broken. Small injuries matter more than people expect because discomfort changes behavior. A blister slows you down. A small cut gets dirty.
A headache makes every decision worse. The smartest move is to buy the compact first aid kit, then customize around your real life with items from home. Add prescription medication, any pain relief you already use, spare glasses if you need them, and anything else that would become a serious problem if you were away from home for a day or two. That is when preparedness stops being generic and starts becoming personal.
Number 9. Free upgrades. One of the best prepping lessons for beginners is that some of the most important upgrades barely cost anything. Red Cross also lists sanitation items, copies of personal documents, family contact information, extra cash, maps, and medications. CDC storm guidance follows the same pattern: food and water, power, safety items, and important documents are what matter when normal systems stop working. So, once the Walmart shopping is done, finish the bag with your home preparedness. Add a printed contact sheet. Add copies of ID, insurance cards, and key numbers in a sealed bag. Add a phone cable you already own. Add a little cash in small bills. Add a spare pair of socks, a simple hygiene pouch, and your daily meds. This is where the cheap kit starts beating the expensive one in a very practical way, because now it is built around your real life instead of a generic survival fantasy. A lot of expensive bug-out bags never make that jump.
They look complete, but they are missing the items that matter most to the actual person carrying them. For family preparedness, this section matters even more because one child's medication, one phone number, or one missing document can become a much bigger problem than not having another gadget.
Number 10. The $47 build. Put all of that together, and the cart looks surprisingly strong for one person. One 24-pack of water at $3.68. One 24-count box of granola bars at $4.42. One 16-ounce jar of peanut butter at about $1.98. One can of chunk chicken at $2.62. One mini flashlight at $1.97. One 10,000 milliampere hour backup phone battery at $9.98. One emergency poncho at $1.98. One reusable emergency blanket at about $2.77. One 85-piece first aid kit at $8.88. One pack of zip ties at about $1.97. One 50-foot paracord at $3.18. One box of 13-gallon Strong Flex trash bags at $3.98. That comes out to about $47.41 before tax. Depending on local pricing and sales tax, you might need to trim $1 or $2, but the build stays in the $50 range and still covers the categories that matter first. And that is why this kind of Walmart survival kit beats a lot of high-priced bug-out bags. The money goes into real water, real calories, light, charging, rain protection, warmth, repair, first aid, and basic sanitation, instead of into gear that mostly looks prepared. The remaining job is to fill the last space with your own meds, documents, cable, contacts, and the daily use items that make the bag fit your actual life instead of somebody else's gear checklist.